Well, let's find out where Louisiana Senator John Kennedy is on this Friday. Good morning to you, Senator. Where are you?
Good morning. I'm back in Louisiana. We're recovering from the last hurricane.
That's right. Last time you were with us, you didn't have electricity in your neck of the woods, and you had cell service. It was a little spotty, but folks in that area now are on the mend and drying out and trying to rebuild, right?
Yes, we had another hurricane come through, Nicholas. It wasn't as bad as Ida. We still got about 100,000 people without electricity, as I've said before, except for New Orleans, where the levees held, thank the Lord. These last two have been worse than Katrina. But, you know, Louisianians are tough as a boot. We'll recover.
No doubt. Well, Senator, as there's a lot of things going on in our news media right now, take your pick. Afghanistan, books and accusations and things going on. Well, as that's happening, Fox News is busy at work still attempting to cover what's happening at our southern border, which has gotten no better. In fact, it's gotten a lot worse. And new images captured by our drone down there recently show that over 10,000 illegals are now basically huddled underneath a bridge in Del Rio, Texas. These are exclusive photos that we have showing this crisis down there. Yet, Senator, the FAA, which is charged with controlling the airspace, is now saying, not so fast, no more drones. Here's what they said. The Border Patrol requested the temporary flight restriction due to drones interfering with law enforcement flights on the border. As with any temporary flight restriction, media is able to call the FAA to make requests to operate in the area. So due to drones interfering, what was interfering? Was it the drones interfering with law enforcement, or is it interfering with the coverage of how the Biden administration wants the border to be
messaging?
Seen?
Well, it was the coverage. Look, I regret having to say this, but when it comes to illegal immigration, you just can't trust the Biden administration. It would be like trusting Harvey Weinstein with your daughter. When it comes to illegal immigration, the Biden administration lies like they breathe. They're like timeshare salesmen. I mean, they're peerless. The truth is that the Biden administration has an open border policy. The truth is that this year we'll have well over 2 million people coming into our country, allowed in by the president, and we don't have the slightest idea who they are. And I believe that the reason that they're limiting drone usage is because they don't want the American public to know. And I think this is illegal, and I think they're also misreading the American people. The American people support legal immigration. That's why we welcome about 1 million of our world's neighbors every year to become American citizens legally. That's more than any other country in the world. But we do not support illegal immigration. When you ask the Biden administration about it, they say, well, you're not for immigration because you're racist. Vetting people at the border is not racist. It's prudent. Every country does it. And the American people see the southern border kind of like they see the front door of their house. They don't lock their front door at night because they want to keep everybody out. They hate everybody on the outside. The American people lock their front door at night because they love the people on the inside. And they want to know who's coming into their home. And that's what the American people believe. And if you ask the Biden administration what they believe, they'll tell you the same thing. But you have to watch what they do, not what they say. And we now have an open border policy. The nut jobs are in charge in the Biden administration.
In the middle of a pandemic, too, we hear the president say there's a mandate. You have to get vaccinated. He's making you and all of your colleagues get vaccinated. Federal workers have to get vaccinated, or they have to get tested weekly. So it's so hypocritical, because down at the border, anyone can come in and they don't have to get vaccinated. And we're hearing sometimes they're not even tested.
Well, they don't have to get vaccinated, but more, or as importantly, Ainsley, we don't have the slightest idea who they are. I'm sure that some are people who want to come to America for a better life. That's fine. I'm proud of that. But that's why we have a legal immigration system. But some of the people coming in, we know, are criminals. They're child predators. They're drug dealers. They're terrorists. And the idea of saying anybody who wants to come in can come in it's lunacy. And the American people don't support it, which is why I think the Biden administration is preventing the usage of the drones.
And one of the reasons why there's been such a surge in Del Rio is 8 days ago, the Biden administration announced they no longer would deport Haitians back to Haiti. And so the Haitians who were here, I think there were 4,000 on Wednesday, they got on the phone, they called their loved ones in Haiti and said, come on down, or come on up, because the border is wide open. And that is why there is a surge, close to 11,000 under that bridge last night. Meanwhile, Senator, let's talk a little bit. Go ahead.
Sure. No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to change. I was going to change topics. Did you want to say one more thing about that?
Well, I just want to say that the American people aren't racist about illegal immigration. They're just not. Having an illegal immigration policy is not racist. Every country in the world does it. And having a border wall is not racist. That's why many countries in the world have a border wall to try to control immigration. But the Biden administration has turned this issue, or tried to turn it into a racial issue, like everything else, I guess. And I think they're misreading and misjudging the American people.
All right. Meanwhile, I was going to switch over to the fact that later today, the FDA Advisory Committee is going to meet to figure out whether or not people who have already gotten the vaccine should get a booster shot, because it apparently helps people. But then at the same time, you've got the government is buying more of the monoclonal antibodies to avoid shortages because the coronavirus is surging. Jen Psaki pointed out yesterday, I think that 70% of all that stuff is going to 7 different states, and your state is one of them, where the Delta is a really big problem right now.
Well, I think that clearly we're in the midst of a surge. I think we have enough vaccine and enough medicine to treat everybody in America and to help other people in the world. I believe that. I think that the president's vaccine mandate has probably set us back in terms of getting people vaccinated. The president has apparently decided that he needs to protect Americans from their dangerous constitutional rights. Apparently, the new rule of the Biden administration is that, how can I put this? The Taliban gets Black Hawks and the unvaccinated get fired. Now, that's a hell of a rule. Don't misunderstand me. I support the vaccine. I've taken the vaccine. I think the vaccine works. Every one of my constituents that asks me about it, I tell them that.
Yeah.
I tell them the vaccine wasn't developed by the federal government. It was developed by the private sector. The technology is not new. The mRNA technology has been studied for 10 years. But having said that, the president is one part of our Madisonian system of separation of powers and our federal system. And the president doesn't just get to say everybody has to have a shot. When we confront these issues of personal freedom versus public safety, which we do all the time, those decisions are made by the people. And they're made at the state level and at the local level through the people's elected representatives. At a minimum, they're made by Congress, though I don't think Congress really has the say here. I think it's up to the people through their local representatives. It's just like with lockdowns. Some states, like California, they think lockdowns work. I don't. I think we've proven that. But if California wants to lock down, they have the authority to do it. The president shouldn't mandate it for them or anybody else, nor should he be mandating the vaccine. I think it's going to cause people not to get the vaccine. We were making some progress in terms of convincing people to take the jab, and I think this is going to set us back. And I hate to say it, but I think there's a political element to this too.
And Senator, now it's going to cause people to lose their jobs because as the employee mandate kicks in, employers are having to make really difficult decisions. And whether it's in the private or the public sector, there is a Aurora, Oregon fire chief who's now suing Oregon. His name is Josh Williams because he's being mandated his employees who have not gotten the shot. If they don't get it, they're going to be fired. Here's what he said on Fox News Primetime.
I've been in emergency service for 28 years, making decisions that impact people's lives every day. I can sure as hell make a decision what I put in my own body. I've made this decision. Basically, what has happened is the state of Oregon has also told me as an employer that I cannot employ a firefighter or a volunteer firefighter. They're telling me that come October 18th, I have to get rid of those people, and I'm not going to do it. And I'm willing to lose my job over that.
So forget about freedom. You're fired if you don't follow the mandate.
Yeah. Well, what also disturbs me is that the implicit message from the Biden administration is that the people who choose not to be vaccinated are a bunch of ignorant Trump voters who, if they don't get vaccinated, deserve to die. That's sort of the implicit message. And that's just simply not true. The vaccination rate in many of our inner cities, among many of our minorities in the country, some of whom support Republicans, but many of whom support Democrats, the vaccination rate is very, very low. So if you really break it down and look at who's not vaccinated, many people who make $50,000 or less are not vaccinated. They're the ones that are going to be hurt by the president's policy. Now, why aren't people taking the vaccine? I think there are a multitude of reasons, but one is the American people, through bitter experience, have learned not to trust the federal government. This is not about the vaccine or the science. They don't trust the managerial elite, the wokeristas in Washington. And that's why I tell folks, look, the federal government did not make this vaccine. The private sector did. President Trump provided the money, but this was not developed by some yahoos over at the Department of Health and Social Services.
Or they've had COVID and believe that natural immunity and the antibodies they have are as robust as the vaccine as well, which seems to not count. Why won't they count that? Real quick, Senator.
Well, we need a very honest discussion led by Dr. Fauci, if he's going to still be running this thing, about natural immunity. They don't want to talk about it, but we need to talk about it.
True.
Senator, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Yep, and best of luck down there in Louisiana.
Thank you,
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.